Welcome to the Gardening Show. I'm Geri Hoerner, and today joining me are Steve and Cathy Marak, and they're members of the Orchid Society of the Ozarks. Mm-hmm. And Steve, I think you're the newsletter editor right now.
Yes.
And Cathy, when you were past president too. Mm-hmm. And Cathy was also past president, and right now you're on the board.
I'm on the board. And I take a lot of the photographs at our meetings to help Steve out with his newsletter.
Oh, that's good. You work in tandem, I know.
Exactly.
I know you do. Okay, this month we're going to be talking about orchids, to repot or not. So a lot of people have orchids and they buy them and then they don't know what to do with them. So one thing they don't know is when to repot. So we're going to talk about that a little later. But we're also going to give some information about what you need to do in your garden for February. First, I want to thank our sponsors, the Bella Vista Garden Club and the Benton County Master Gardeners. They're so supportive of our show, and we really appreciate them. And so does the TV station. They appreciate their support too. So, and then upcoming events, there's really not too many in the winter, but you have an event coming up, the Orchid Society. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be where?
It's going to be at the Botanical Garden of the Ozarks on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
3 days.
3 days. It is our big event for the year.
Yeah.
And we'll have exhibits, other societies will come in, and then we will also have many orchids for sale.
That's the main thing, is you know where to find your orchids. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of them find them in the box stores and grocery stores and things like that. But if you want really, really nice orchids, you got to go to the Orchid Show.
Those are good orchids that they have, but we're going to have a lot of things that you won't find in any of the box stores.
And you said there's how many varieties of orchids?
There are 30,000 natural species that have been discovered so far. They're still discovering them every day.
Oh my gosh.
So that number's going to change tomorrow. And there are 100,000 man-made hybrid orchids like these that we have here.
My goodness, I can't imagine that. Who keeps track of all that?
Actually, there's an organization that does.
It takes an organization to do that, I'm sure.
The World Horticultural Society. Keeps track of them.
But they are such a beautiful plant, they really are. And then, like I said, most people end up buying them at the box stores, or maybe a florist might have them.
And those are good plants. There's not a thing wrong with those.
Right. There isn't a bad orchid, is there?
No. There are some that are very difficult to grow and that you wouldn't recommend maybe for beginners, but then the easy ones are easier than African violets. And as someone who has killed an African violet, I speak from experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. So the Phalaenopsis, I think, is the one I have, which is probably the most common.
And one that we recommend for people because they are very happy in the same conditions that we are. Mm-hmm. So if you're happy in your house, it probably will be too.
So, and I guess the watering is important.
Yes, and it all depends on your growing conditions. And I know we're going to talk about potting a little later, but you can put different kind of amendments into your potting media so that you can go longer between watering. Some people like to water their orchids every day. They like to fuss with them every day.
Oh my goodness.
And so they pot them accordingly. So you can adjust a little bit some of the care of the orchid to suit your time that you have to spend with them.
So is that like the those crystals you'd put in there to absorb water and hold water? Is that what you'd amend it with, or?
I don't know people who use those on orchids, but sphagnum moss is very moisture-rich, and you can add that into your mix, and it will help keep them moist longer.
Okay.
Most people overwater orchids.
Well, that's not my case.
Well, that's good.
And I have a hard time.
We say that more orchids have died from overwatering than from any other cause.
That's usually the case with it.
And so typically the amendments that we use, like you mentioned, the crystals, well, they help hold water, so that's probably not one you'd want for an orchid.
Yeah.
You'd want something that's more open and airy to let the water drain through.
Because they do like a pot with holes sometimes.
Definitely they need drainage.
They need drainage, so that's good. Okay, and when you get to the show there, I know there's, I've been to one of the shows a couple years ago. I went with Lou Jasper, and I was just amazed at the orchids. And years ago, there was a nursery that had some orchids, and the blooms were like a quarter of an inch big, tiny, tiny blooms. You almost had to have a magnifying glass to see them. So, I mean, the variety is amazing of orchids. And then you have some here that we can talk about. I don't know, is this one, that's not a phalaenopsis, that's
No, this is one of the slipper orchids.
a slipper.
It's
Okay.
called a Paphiopedilum is the scientific name, but we all just call them paphs. And you can see the slipper is this part here, the lip.
I'll be darned.
And we have some that grow locally here in Arkansas, native slipper
A native
orchids.
one?
Yes, they'll be up in April. But this particular one, its ancestors are from Southeast Asia.
I see.
And next to the Phalaenopsis, we think that this is probably one of the best ones for the average grower to try in their home.
Okay.
We always bring in a lot of slipper orchids for our show to sell, and a lot of them they're called Maudie paths, and they have really pretty leaves, so that even when they're not blooming, you have this nice foliage.
Right, I have seen those leaves that are blotchy or, have edges on them, and they're wonderful orchids. So
They're very popular, and we have a source of some really good ones
that's great.
that will be coming in.
And then the red one here, that's another beauty.
This is a Cattleya, and Cattleyas are known for being the corsage orchids.
Oh, yeah.
Now, most of the corsage orchids are a little different breeding. They're big single flowers, and this is bred for the cluster of flowers. But we like this one because that deep saturated red color.
It's beautiful. And they last forever, it seems like.
The Phalaenopsis that we recommend for starter orchids, one of the good things about those is that an individual flower can last for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And these will last almost as long. These will last 3 weeks to a month, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
Because I
very
remember
long-lasting.
years and years ago, for Mother's Day, you had to buy your mother an orchid. It's always a great big purple and white orchid. So,
And this color of this flower and the size of the flower, they've been breeding them so that's kind of large for a windowsill, but they're breeding small versions of that type of orchid that have the really bright red flowers and quite large flowers, but they're smaller and they'll grow on a windowsill.
oh my. Well, you can breed for different things too. So you breed for more flowers, longer lasting,
Smaller.
and different leaves, and so breeders are busy doing.
Very busy. We can't keep up.
It is hard to keep up. And then Cathy, you've got one over there by you too that is just beautiful.
Oh, yes, this is a Vanda, and you can't feel, but these are waxy flowers. They look delicate, but they are thick flowers, and you just don't get that kind of bloom on very many other kinds of plants. These are a little harder to grow in your house. They have these air roots, and they like to be moistened often. And
So
some people
that's
try
almost
it.
a
but
greenhouse. You'd have to have a
It
greenhouse.
does better in a greenhouse than it does inside a house.
If you had a sunroom or a picture window or something that got really good light and you could have missed it every day, you could grow one of them.
That's a high maintenance.
That's a high maintenance orchid.
Exactly. You get a big payoff.
It's worth it though when you see them bloom. And then the roots are just coming out everywhere, and that's not a bad thing. for
That's
an
what they're
orchid.
supposed to do.
It's how they grow in nature.
Yeah.
And in fact, this grows that way in nature. The Cattleyas grow in trees and hang their roots down in nature. That's not easy to do in your house. So we put them
No,
in
and everybody
pots.
thinks those roots should be in the pot. That's what we're used to.
Well, in nature, that's how they hang on the trees. That's what they hold on with.
Right.
So
And they don't have any little pot to hold on to. So they're beautiful. They really are. And then how long has the Orchid Society been active in
I think
Benton County?
we were founded in 1996 by Tom and Barbara Lark, and they were our founding members. They
I
moved
see.
here from Kansas City. So that would make this our 27th, 28th year,
Yeah.
something like that.
So you've got a good basis here. So that's very good. Okay. We're going to probably is there anything else you want to talk about the show?
I guess we should mention that the show will be open to the public Friday night, all day Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon. Friday night is a preview for Botanic Garden members.
Okay, so if you're a member of the
If you're a member
Botanical
of the
Garden of
Botanic
the
Garden,
Ozarks, then you can go Friday
Then
night.
you go Friday night, and the way
So
these
you get
things are.
first choice of the
Exactly.
orchids to buy.
Exactly.
So
And then
that's a good
Saturday,
reason to be a member.
Saturday morning will be the next best choice.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to have to put that on the calendar for sure. So, but we'll take a break now, and I think we're going to be talking about repotting orchids, when we have to do that, and how we can do that. So we will be back shortly.
Hello, I'm Mike Cleary, host of Mike Cleary Presents right here on Bella Vista Community Television. Beginning January 1st, 2024, Bella Vista Community Television will no longer be broadcasting on Cox Channel 222. We'll be switching to a 100% streaming platform. We're adding the Roku channel to our list of streaming platforms that includes YouTube, Facebook, and now the Roku app. For more information, go to our website or contact Bella Vista Community Television.
Well, welcome back. I'm with Cathy and Steve right now, and we're going to be talking about repotting orchids, when you need to repot them, if you need to repot them. I brought two of my orchids that I thought needed to be repotted, and we'll have to find out. Right?
We'll find out.
Because this one's a pretty small pot, and I thought maybe it might go into a larger pot, but then this may be too large of a pot to put that in. Because you said they like to be
Well,
root bound, but
the thing about these is that, in nature, these are hanging on trees. There's no bark. So really, they just use the bark as support and for convenience for us. And it is a medium that the water and things can drain through and get around the roots.
so we really don't know if this needs to be repotted until we take it apart, take it out.
The best way to know, over time, this bark is going to degrade, especially down at the bottom of the pot. It will almost turn into dirt
Right.
here.
Right.
And when it does that, then it holds too much water, and that starts to cause root rot.
Okay.
So the best way to know whether you need to repot is to pop it out. Do you mind if I do that?
Okay, but I noticed the roots then are kind of brown too, because I don't water as often as I should.
Well, you probably are watering about the right amount. More orchids are killed by overwatering than almost anything else in homes.
Okay.
If it's okay with you, I'm just going to pop this right
Sure.
out. Okay, let's take a look.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you can see down here in the bottom of this, this is almost like dirt.
Right, because when I water it, it's like a lot of stuff comes out.
Yeah, so that probably means that the medium is degraded and that we need to repot this guy.
Okay, and as far as the medium, just about any,
Any decent orchid bark mix that you buy at a big box store or
nursery.
online or at a nursery will be just fine. Orchid growers get particular, as other people do, so,
Right.
but they're all good products.
okay. So a
So
lot of
let's
these,
take a look here at your roots. Oh yeah, these are nice, good-looking roots.
A lot more roots than I thought there would be.
A lot more roots down there. I see this is a piece of dead root.
Right.
And you can tell because it's thin and withered. And these are fat and they're kind of green or silvery. Those
okay,
are
now
good,
the
healthy roots.
silvery ones, you said if you put water on them, they'll turn
I
green,
don't know how
right?
you want to do that.
Just get a little water on your hand and there you go.
Oh,
You can see that starts to turn green from silver. There's a special coating on those roots that absorbs the water, and when it turns green like that, it shows that it's absorbing the water, and you can see the chlorophyll in the roots now.
And even if it has a kink in it,
Even if it
think
has a
it's
kink,
dead or something,
that's still a good root.
it's still a good root.
This piece was bad. There's a couple of little pieces here that I'm just kind of popping off.
Okay.
But
So
you can
if
see
a
that
dead root that's really dead like that, you can cut it
you
out. Or,
can cut it off. You've got scissors here, and that works perfectly well.
yeah.
But most of these roots look very healthy, Jerry.
Oh, that's good news. And I do have a curled leaf here, too.
Yeah,
So-
they will do that sometimes. It doesn't really hurt anything. As Cathy mentioned, if you really don't like it, you can get a clothespin and just gently put it on the end, and
And weight it
a lot of
down, and
times it will stay in position then. Now, in a tree, this would be hanging like this, and it would be growing. That's not very convenient for
For
us
households.
in our home. Now, we had talked maybe about putting it back in there, but that's a lot
Yeah,
more
it's a lot
roots
more
than what I
roots.
thought.
I see.
So I think that probably on second thought, we should move to this size.
Show them that
So-
pot for a minute. This is a nice pot because it's got all these holes.
The air holes, they love the air.
Yeah, they love the air, and it lets the water drain out really quickly also. And then these are nice because you can set them inside a decorative pot.
Right, that's-
So you can water them, let them drain, and then put them in the decorative pot.
Right.
And you can also kind of see what's going on with your roots because this is clear.
And this one is like, they call this like an air cone. It takes up space in the pot that will let more air come up into where the roots are, and it limits you from packing the media down at the bottom also. This one, see, it was rotting down in the bottom,
That's not a pot.
and it doesn't
for
have that air
orchids.
cone, so that is really a
Yeah.
nice pot.
You really want lots of good drainage in an orchid pot,
Yeah.
more so even than in a regular
Well, these
pot.
I got online. You can get them online. I don't know
It's
if
a good
they're
pot.
available at the box stores or nurseries. I'm not sure.
So we'll just we'll shake a little bit more of the old media off there. A little won't hurt anything, but if we can get some of it off, that's good.
Okay.
And that's such a big, healthy root mass that this is going to be the right size pot.
think so, too.
Cathy, can you give me a hand here?
And here's a scoop if you need it.
And what we'll do, if that's okay with you, is we'll put the stem back over kind of in the center and straighten him up a little bit.
Yes, I'm always concerned they're going to fall over.
Yeah, because they do get top heavy.
Let me put this bigger pot. I'm just using my hand. Okay, it's a little faster. This is a nice chunky mix here that will let a lot of aeration occur, and it'll cause the water to go through quickly. And that's the thing about putting this in this bigger pot. It's better maybe if you put one from a smaller pot to a bigger pot to use bigger bark so that it doesn't keep it too wet. But I think this pot's so nice and aerated, it won't matter. I have to vacuum the floor when I...
Yeah, I'm going
Well,
to
you
move
can
over here a
see.
little bit. Go ahead.
Whoa. Let's try to put some on the other side. Can't do it.
This is kind of a fine bark. It comes in multiple grades. There's fine and medium and coarse.
Oh, I thought they were all the same.
So it will be bigger. The average size of the pieces will be bigger. And so the next time you repot this, you might want to move up to the next size
Next
bark.
size bark.
And see
Okay.
that's after
So
we
the
pop that
larger the
down,
plant, the bigger the bark.
coarser the bark.
You see the fines that are coming out?
Right.
That's a little bit fine for an orchid, but
So we'll kind of shake those out,
Okay.
and maybe just a
know if
little
they
bit
can-
more, Cathy.
I don't know if they can see how powdery it is here.
Can you see that
You know,
coming out of
it's
the
like
pot at all?
Sifting flour, yeah.
and we do sell media at our show, so
Oh, that's
it's
good,
another
too.
place to get it. And
And you probably have different sizes and
We
you
do.
choose from. Oh, that's great. Because I think when you go to the box store, you got one size to pick from usually.
And I'll just tell you, these orchid potting mixes, they're like people's favorite recipes. So, one person puts two eggs in the mix and another one puts
Pinch of
one.
this, pinch of sphagnum moss.
And they'll all swear that theirs
think we're good.
is the very best mix. So.
Look okay to you?
Yep.
So you shake that down, you just pat it to
Yeah,
make
you
sure,
can
and
see
then
the
that gets the
powdery
fines
down
out.
here.
And they don't want to be in dirt, so
No,
that's like,
that is
that's way
like
fine, so.
Yeah.
So you're
So we're
good to
set
go.
with that one. That's great. Okay. And then I'll just weight that down with a clothespin.
That's a nice, healthy looking leaf there, Jerry.
It's a
It's
new
really
leaf.
pretty.
Now, I don't know if there's a bloom coming. I thought I saw a little start of a bloom somewhere, but maybe not. Maybe it was, no, I don't. Mine haven't bloomed as much as others, but it's because I probably forget to water them.
The big cause, if everything else about a plant is healthy, the biggest cause of not blooming is not getting quite enough light.
Oh, the light.
And
Okay.
so you wouldn't, as healthy as this is, don't move it into like a whole lot stronger light, but just a little closer to the window maybe.
Okay.
Or a little bit brighter window.
And then this one, like I said, this one is in one of those good pots that I found.
It is.
And you said this one probably doesn't need to be repotted as yet.
What do you think, Kathy?
'Cause
I see
there's
lots of
not-
good roots and,
So you can see the roots down in the soil. They're green, healthy, fat. You can see them going down into that mix. And so, and looking at the mix on top, it's hard to tell about the bottom without taking it out, but that's not very degraded. That looks pretty good.
Good, okay.
So,
So how often do you think you need to repot your orchids?
I was going to say, in another year, these roots they may annoy you because they're really coming out a lot, and that is one of the things that causes people with phalaenopsis to decide to repot because they don't want the roots everywhere.
Oh, yeah, but that's not a bad thing.
the plant doesn't care.
Plant doesn't care.
Plant doesn't care, okay.
It bothers people. If you decide to repot one that has a lot of these roots, you notice this root's broken
Yeah.
here. So these roots are brittle, but if you get one that has a lot of roots sticking out and you want to repot it because the appearance bothers you, wet down the roots first because that makes them much more flexible and you'll be able to tuck them down into the new
Okay, so you would
bark.
just tuck these down in
Yeah.
when you
But
repot.
get it wet
But
first.
get it wet first and then wait about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you repot. They'll be much more flexible and much less likely to break.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you can even take it out and float it in a pan or something, and they just get really soft, and you
Just
can just
hydrate them very,
very.
yeah.
Hydrate them really good.
Oh, good. And then I'm not sure I saw some kind of a,
There's either a new root or a shoot starting on one of them. I saw it also.
yeah, I don't know what it
It's
is.
a little bit hard to tell when they first start out of the.
There it is, right
There it is.
there.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that is yet.
It could be a flower spike or it could just be another root.
Okay.
But you'll know in a
You
month.
don't, and they have to be like an inch long before you can really tell
Yeah.
what they are. Okay. Well, I really enjoy having my orchid repotted and knowing it's going to be in good shape. So, okay. And then something else we talked about, the potting, and I can't recall what we were talking
I was
about.
telling we were talking about that they don't really need the media. We put it in there; it helps increase the humidity. But Stephen had an orchid when we got married that he had gotten somewhere locally, I think, from a guy in Rogers, and we had cats, and it grew on the windowsill, and. The cats like the windowsill also, and so we'd be sitting there, and once in a while it's like, oh, where's the orchid? And the orchid would be
Camera one, dog.
on the floor, okay? And the cats would have knocked it off. So we go over and pick it up. And after that happened 2 or 3 times, we started putting rocks in the pot
Oh, to hold it down.
to hold it down. And so there was not very much media in there, not like what these have. But there were a lot of rocks in there on the windowsill. We didn't water it very often, like you talk about. You don't water yours very often. And it bloomed every year because they grow in trees in real life, right?
Yeah, right.
And so it was very happy. It didn't
So
mind.
you still have that orchid?
You know, we had it for a long time, and I think it finally went over the rainbow.
I had it for almost 40 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And then finally it did die.
It does eventually kind of.
I think I
Well-
moved it to the greenhouse, and it didn't like it down there.
Strangely, it liked the windowsill better than the greenhouse.
Probably is a little chillier in there, I'm guessing. It
More
might be part of it.
comfortable where it was this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Okay.
Which is another good thing about plants in general. When you find a place where they're happy,
Yeah.
just let them be.
Now the fertilizing, I have heard that you should water weekly, meaning the fertilizer should be weak in strength, like half strength, and then water weekly by the calendar. So if you keep thinking weekly, maybe that will trigger me to.
I think the important thing is just to fertilize them sometimes. And I got to tell you, we had a speaker that came last year before last, talked about this, and he has a whole other idea about that in the summer, in the spring and summer, when the plants are putting on lots of growth, or when you see that they're doing growth, fertilize them a lot then, and then in the winter taper off, and don't fertilize as much in the winter because they don't need extra nutrients then.
If they're not growing, they don't need
That's
extra
right.
nutrients.
I don't need the food then.
Right, so it's something to think about, and we've
Yeah.
been trying to do that in our greenhouse, fertilize with a higher strength and more often in the summer, spring and summer, and then taper off and
And
not water
so
much
that
in
would
winter.
encourage the bloom too, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm
Now,
going to have
the-
to start fertilizing more often, yeah.
The weekly is, there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is that most of the plant foods that you buy in big box stores, for instance, unless they're specifically designed for orchids, will recommend a much higher strength than what orchids like.
Right, they don't
And
need that much.
They don't need that much. And the other thing is that salts can accumulate from the fertilizer, can accumulate in here, and over time it can damage the roots.
Oh, okay.
And so that's another reason not to be too
But
strong.
if you see any salt residue, you should repot then.
No, you can
Or
clean that
just,
off.
or just rinse it.
Oh, if you're talking about in your pot.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
pot.
Yeah, just flush the pot.
Flush
That
the
will get
pot.
rid of that. Pick the path up and bring it over for just a second. I think the main reason why these are not blooming often is they're not getting enough sun. See how light this leaf is?
Uh-huh.
And so this plant's getting enough sun to bloom, and I think that's the,
So the darker the leaves, the less light they're getting.
yeah.
Oh.
And I don't know that, but I know you've talked about if you fertilize it, will it bloom? I'm thinking more likely if you give it a little bit more light, it will bloom than adding more fertilizer to it.
A medium green like this is the shade that most orchid growers feel like is good.
That's the optimum.
It's not getting scorched from too much sun, but it's also getting plenty of light.
And these are really beautiful, but they are so dark green.
Yeah, they're not getting enough light. Okay, well.
But that's easy to fix, right?
Well, I thank you so much for all this information. So now people won't be so afraid to grow orchids. I know a lot of people are afraid to grow them. So, but there are a few things you need to do in your garden, and I know you're probably so busy with the show, you're not doing anything out there in the garden this month. But, you know, the ice and snow, we haven't had too much, but you don't want to try to take the ice off your plants out there. That just let it melt. Heavy snow, you could take some off if they're really drooping. Then winter annuals, they haven't been doing too well with this weather up and down, and it's been pretty cold. And so the winter annuals are kind of straggly right now. So you have to wait for a warm day and just give them a little fertilizer. So, and lawns, they should be pretty dormant right now. You can maybe put some pre-emergent out the end of February and March. And the main thing in February, March is to cut your grasses, get your grasses trimmed for next year, growth, and don't forget to feed the birds. We've got to feed the birds. So, anyway, well, I thank you for coming. We need to talk a little bit about the Master Gardener meeting that's going to be February 6th at the Benton Church of Christ in Bentonville. And social time is 5:30, and the meeting starts at 6. And the program this February will be black gold, which is compost. And so we'll be talking about compost. But the orchids don't need compost. They need bark, right, or heavier things.
In our pots that we grow them, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's going to be given by Karen Diamond, Benton County Master Gardener. And the Bella Vista Garden Club will have their meeting on Wednesday, February 28th, and that's at the Community Church in Lancashire. Program starts at 10. We gather at 9:30 for social time, and then at 10 o'clock the meeting will start. And the program is going to be trimming trees and bushes with Tony Lacassi. He's going to do our horticulture program. And it's trimming trees and bushes, best practices for great results. And then the program before that will be getting the most out of your vegetable garden. And that's put on by Susan Edge. She's a Benton County Master Gardener. So we got great programs. We love having guests there. And so maybe someone will join us. at the meeting. But thank you very much for all your information about orchids, and they're such a beautiful plant and so much variety. I had no idea all the varieties. I knew there were a lot, but I didn't know that much. So
Thank you for having us on and
Okay.
letting us talk about them.
well, I hope to see you all at the show and sale, and maybe you'll buy some orchids and try your
love
luck
it.
at them. So now we know what to do with them. So, okay, thank you so much for joining us. Until next month, don't forget to stop and smell the roses.